I will say this is one of the things I appreciate most in traditional knives is just how purpose-built they are.
What is up, guys? We are at Blade Show 2017. We have two new friends that we just met at the show. We got in touch on the internet. We have
Evan, Nicolaitis.
And Phil.
Now, we selected these guys because we posted a traditionals video a few months ago. I was making it rain. And the forumites over on Bladed Forums, they threw us to the eels. They threw us to the sharks.
To the eels. No, I like to the eels.
You know what that sound is, Highness? Those are the shrieking eels.
Yeah.
It's like 5:45.
It was a little slippery and weird, but it's we got over it.
So everybody kind of like threw us to the wolves. That's what I was looking for. There it is. So some of the comments were just like biting. So get this, guys. Yeah, my opinion of Blade HQ dropped the longer I watched. These guys clearly have no idea. They don't begin to get it. They totally missed the boat on traditional folders. These guys on the forums were not necessarily, they were ruthless.
Cold-blooded.
Yeah.
Cold-blooded.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about it is Austin and I are not traditional guys. We're working on it.
Yeah.
After we filmed that video, Austin, what did you do?
Yeah, I immediately picked up a pocket knife, an in-pocket knife, a traditional folder. I got myself a GEC, and then I picked up a couple sets. I think I got a Swiss Army knife as well, and just picked up a proper. So
nice.
yeah, I'm working on my cred.
On my end, I picked up this little trapper from Case, carried it for a month or so, trying to learn. The other thing people suggested we should do is get a couple traditionals guys that really know what they're talking about, and that's where we found Phil, and Phil brought along Evan, and now we're all sitting here with a whole heap ton of knives at Blade Show, and we're going to walk through them. Now, here's the thing. I have a hard time wrapping my head around patterns of traditional knives. There's a lot of patterns. So patterns first, then models, right?
Yeah.
From different companies all over the place. And these patterns have been around for how many years?
Centuries.
Centuries.
Yep.
Since they started making knives.
Yep.
And so,
Pretty much.
how do we get from a pattern to thousands of models? What's the process over 200 years?
Different purposes for different knives. I mean, each one has its own purpose. Each blade has its own benefits for further uses, and I mean, the options are endless pretty much with a traditional slip joint. If you have a specific task that you perform on a daily basis, there's a knife for it.
Yeah, a lot of the knives were developed specifically for different professions, like a gardener or a carpenter or something like that.
So let's walk through some of these patterns, and I'm going to put a plug in for Evan here at the beginning of this video. Evan is a traditional knife maker. Yeah. So one of your patterns that you like to make is a Barlow, right?
I love Barlows.
Walk us through, we've got like 5 Barlows on the table. Walk us through what a Barlow is and tell us about it.
All right, so this is not quite a traditional Barlow, but it's on the same frame with a Barlow blade style. This is a spear point blade. Barlows come in all in an assortment of blade shapes. You've got clip point Barlows, spear point Barlows. This one isn't a Barlow, but it's on the same frame, but they do have sheep's foot blades.
What is this one?
This is a boy's knife.
A boy's knife.
So,
now, a boy's knife and a Barlow, what's the difference?
The only difference is the bolster length. So if we're talking boys' knives...
Okay, this is a bolster.
Yes,
okay.
This is a bolster, and so is this.
Okay.
The Barlow is on the boy's knife frame. The only difference is that it's got this larger bolster on it. And this is a working man's knife.
Got it.
It's just a great overall pattern. You know, if you're gonna be using your knife for an assortment of different things, these are a wonderful pattern to have. It's comfortable in your hand.
How many blades does a Barlow have?
It can have 1 blade or 2 blades.
Okay.
A traditional Barlow has a main blade and a pen blade.
Smaller one.
Got it.
So that's a pen blade. It's basically a spear point, but a smaller version of it.
Okay, so Barlow boy's knife. What's next here, Phil?
What do we have here? We have Stockman's up here. Stockman is a very, very wide-ranging pattern. You can have all different kinds of.
Are all of these? All 8 of those are Stockman?
Yeah, I would say all of these are Stockman's. Probably this is a more traditional pattern with the clip blade as the main blade, and then got a sheep foot blade and a spay blade as secondaries.
Okay, so Stockman, do they always have 3 blades?
Typically, every once in a while you'll find a 4 blade or even a 5 blade.
So here's something I learned off camera, is that it doesn't matter. You can have a pattern that has 2 elements of 2 patterns squished together in one model.
Oh yeah, there's lots of gray areas.
So it kind of feels like who's on first to me.
Who is on first, Lou? What are you asking me for?
They bleed over a lot.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So you can have a Stockman in a small size, like this, or you can have a Stockman in a large size, like this.
The beast.
So Stockman comes in 2, I mean any size really, right?
Yeah, pretty much any size.
But if it looks like this and has around 3 blades, it might be a Stockman.
Yep.
Might be.
But that's where we get more specific with it, because a Stockman has 3 blades, but you've got a main blade and then the 2 secondary blades on the same spring. So on the back of the knife, you've got the 2 springs that create the action of the knife.
Okay.
And the Stockman has the 2 that fit in with the main blade next to it.
Okay.
And if we're talking about 3-bladed knives, that's where there's a lot of different patterns that have multiple blades in them, but this is specific to a Stockman.
Got it.
Even though you can see it in other patterns, but that's where the bleed over occurs.
So one thing people suggested online too, they mentioned that Jared Oser is right down the street from us in Lehigh, Utah. So what do we do, Austin?
Yeah, so we took him out to lunch. We kind of picked his brain. It was really great to get a quick education on this kind of stuff and why it's important in the community, why it's important for, just traditionalists in general. So
then Austin was out of the office, but I ended up going to Jared's shop, and he showed me how these things work. In fact, the bolster, so the thing I carried this and I kept looking at it, I'm like, how does the pivot work? Which is, if you're into this stuff, it's like, well done. I'd never seen it done, but basically, it's not screwed together. The pivot is basically, what would you call it? It's buffed into the bolster. It's a pin that they stick in there, hammer it in there, and then they put it on the grinder, and you don't even see it. And I looked at this thing for the longest time, I'm like, this is witchcraft.
This one is a good demonstration of that, because this one they didn't sand off the pin, so you can really see there's a bushing there and then the pin going through, and they just riveted it in there, but they didn't take the time to sand it off.
So I'm sitting there with Jared in his shop, and I watched him do it, and then I looked at it again. I'm like, okay, where did the pivot go? And he had 2 models, one unfinished, one finished. I had to go back to the unfinished, and then it light bulb, boom. I was like, traditionals. It was really cool. It was a cool experience, and so that's part of why we're doing this, is to try to wrap our heads around it, help you as a consumer wrap your head around all these different patterns. So next one we're going to talk about, what is it right here?
Trappers.
Trappers. What's the story behind a trapper?
Well, there's 2 different kinds. It's mainly a jackknife with a curved handle.
Did we talk about jackknives already? What's a jackknife?
Well, sort of. The Barlows are also jackknives.
What makes a jackknife?
The distinguishing feature of a jackknife is that you've got the blades coming from one end of the knife.
Okay, got it.
So this is a jackknife. This has 2 blades and it's a jackknife, but you can have another 2-bladed knife that has 1 blade coming from the other end, and that turns it into a multi-blade.
So there's jackknives and multi-blades.
Yeah, so the Stockman has blades on both ends. It's got the blade that comes out from this side and the blade that comes out from that side.
Not a jackknife.
Right.
I'm going to jump around, but we talked about this yesterday. Phil showed us this little peanut, and this is actually a jackknife, right? Because it's got 5 blades, but they all come out of the same side. So
but
it has.
It's a jackknife, not a multi-blade.
Correct.
Despite the fact that it has multiple blades. Now, that's not confusing.
Oh yeah.
And that's part of it, is just trying to wrap our heads around this. So trappers are jackknives.
Correct.
Yeah.
Why would I want a trapper?
trappers a lot of times are a jackknife that'll have 2 full-size blades on the frame. So, for example, if you're hunting or whatnot, you can have the blades for 2 different purposes. You can use one for skinning and one for general use. And a lot of times you'll actually see, not necessarily on a trapper, but you'll see 2 of the same exact blades on a knife, and you wonder why would you put 2 of the same exact blade? And it was so when you're in the field working, if one of your blades gets dull, you open up the other one and use that, and you've got a fresh, sharp blade available to you.
Like a muskrat pattern. They call it a muskrat pattern because it was originally made for trappers for skinning muskrats. So, you know, it had little thin blades. As soon as one got dull, you just flip it around, start using the other one. You don't have to take a break and resharpen it.
You know, I read a comment online that just came to my mind. One of these guys on a forum said, I carry a traditional because when I want to use a knife, I know I've got a sharp blade. And they said I give the crappy one when somebody wants to borrow my knife.
Clever.
Like, not bad.
I like it.
Not bad. Okay, next pattern on the table. What are we looking at? This is kind of we got a couple different ones.
over
We
here.
got canoes.
Yeah,
Let's
we got
talk
the
about
canoe
canoes for a
pattern.
minute.
All right, so here's a canoe pattern. It's a multi-bladed pattern.
You can
Blades
kind of
coming
see,
out from both ends.
kind of see why it's called the canoe pattern.
Yeah.
It's shaped like a canoe.
It's shaped like a canoe.
You gotta show the audience, the folks at home.
Notes.
I stayed up till midnight one night at the office, labeling all these, like trying to wrap my head around it, because it's
man.
like, wow, there's so many. So I actually labeled them. This is for me. It's for you. It's for everybody. You're welcome.
All right, so this is an interesting pattern because you see these strange points on the bolster, and what that does is that when you have the blade closed, the blade's closed, it makes a smooth transition there. These are called sunken joints, and that means that the tang isn't sticking up, and you don't have a sharp point to catch your hand on, or a rough spot in your pocket.
You can see
or
that
whatnot.
example there. Solid. Called a canoe. Comes in a lot of different varieties, right?
Well, a canoe is specific to this.
Well,
This
sizes.
shape.
I guess when I say varieties,
Different sizes,
Size,
yeah.
different sizes, different blade arrangements.
Most of
and
these
whatnot.
patterns you could get all the way from peanut size all the way up to, you know, the monster 4 or 5 inch patterns.
Love it. Okay, let's talk about this one right here. This is a
Interesting knife.
what is this one?
The
RUSSLOCK.
RUSSLOCK.
Russ.
Your notes are on the back.
Are they?
Right?
Nice. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so what is a RUSSLOCK?
A RUSSLOCK is
And
specific
this one actually
to
has a
case.
lock on it.
Yeah, this
okay.
is a liner lock slip joint.
I forget the name of the guy who invented it, but I'm pretty sure it's named
probably
after him.
Russ.
I would guess
something.
Russ.
Yeah.
So this is built on what pattern? Or is it
this
all
is-
original?
This
Kind of
is
a trapper pattern.
Yeah, a trapper serpentine pattern.
Okay.
So a serpentine pattern is where there is an S-type wave to it, as opposed to a straight knife, a swell-ended knife. This would be a swell end because it tapers out.
It's a swell knife.
This is a curved
We love
jack.
puns.
I love it. I love it.
This is a curved jack, and then the serpentine. Oh, that goes here. And then the serpentine.
So there are patterns, and then companies. What they were explaining to me is companies will take a pattern, and they will turn it into a model that's
Yeah.
based on a
And they-
pattern.
Yeah.
And they name it.
And this RUSSLOCK is one of those.
Yes.
Love
So, RUSSLOCK, I'm pretty sure it's proprietary to Case.
Okay.
One
And
of the
it's-
first one-hand openers.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this little lever right here allows you to open the blade with one hand, and then you have a liner in here that
The
locks
liner
it.
lock, yeah.
That's cool.
So this locks. You have to shift it out of the way and drop it back down.
And this still qualifies as a traditional with a lock on it, right?
Sure.
Okay. Approved.
I'd say it's more about the construction. You know, it still has, like you were talking about, the hidden pins and stuff. It's pin construction. It's not all screwed together.
Love it. Okay.
Traditional materials.
Love it. Okay, let's keep moving. They're going to shut down the show in a minute, so we're going to move this train. Next on the list is a Texas toothpick with what kind of bolsters, what kind of handle material on that?
These are pearl handles, probably nickel silver bolsters and liners.
You guys were saying Texas toothpicks are usually bigger.
Yeah, they're usually a bigger
it's
knife.
like this size knife.
Yeah. And they range in all sizes as well. This one's peanut sized, but
You just said peanut size. What does that even mean?
so peanut sized
I love this.
This is the
basically
iconic knife, the
in the
peanut.
3-inch range. The peanut name is specific to case knife. This exact knife is a peanut. People have made variations of it, but the name is proprietary to case as well. And this is a
so peanut and
serpentine.
penknife fall into the same category, right?
Similar, yeah, but under the same category.
small
of
knife.
a small serpentine pattern.
Got it.
So here we have a pen knife next to a peanut. Not much difference, but as you see in the pattern. But this one, Case decided to call it a peanut. I'm not sure why, but
Looks like a peanut.
I don't know what kind of peanuts you're
A
eating.
lot of the names are just based off how it
How
looks.
it looks,
Yeah.
yeah. I like Texas toothpick because it's big, right? Everything's bigger in Texas.
Yeah,
Texas
exactly.
Well,
toothpick.
it looks like a
It
toothpick.
looks like a
too.
toothpick
I
because
like
of that
it.
point.
Yeah.
Okay, so next on the list, Sodbuster.
Sodbuster.
I
I got one
another
right.
iconic
Did you see that?
pattern.
Did you see that? I didn't even look.
You didn't
at
even
my
look at
sticker.
the label.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, it is stamped on the blade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is another really iconic pattern.
Yeah.
And the Sodbuster is another name that's Case came up with.
Right there.
And it actually was kind of offensive when it first came out because Sodbuster was like a mean way to talk about a farmer. You know, you busting sod all
Yeah.
day. And it's just a basic, simple, affordable knife.
Yeah.
Not
big, too.
Yeah, big.
Like, it fills the hand.
Yeah, when we were
a
talking
big
about
knife,
these before, I pulled this
working
one
knife.
out, put it next to a Spyderco Military, and the blade was almost
The same.
length.
Wow. Almost the same.
Solid.
And you know, they're sort of they're beater knives.
Yeah.
They're simple but solid.
If I were using this for hard use, if I were looking for a traditional for hard use, this is where I would go. I would start right here.
Sodbuster.
Sodbuster.
Iconic pattern, drop point blade, great general use for what you want.
Usually have a nice stout pull on it,
Yeah.
so it's not going to close on you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're almost there, guys. Watch this, watch this. Next, a pruner.
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 That's the easy one.
This
Come
is
on
so
now.
easy, yeah. Now, you were telling me yesterday, Evan, that this is designed to be used in a reverse grip.
Reverse grip.
Blade coming.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
No.
No.
All right,
Here.
so
On your thumb.
I'll stop.
this is a sway back pattern, and as you
Curves
see with a
opposite.
curve jack, it fits in your hand. I'll hold it in my
grip,
left
right.
hand.
Yeah.
Fits in your hand with the curvature of your hand. So applying the same logic to a sway back pattern, you hold it like this. It's a very specific use knife. This is a pruner knife. Use gardeners. You hold it like this. Well, I'll show it with my left hand. You hold it like this. This kick runs up here, so it's a stop for your thumb, and you can cleanly prune. Great knife. Hawkbills have different uses nowadays. You know,
Yeah.
great for opening boxes and whatnot. But for a gardening knife,
Yeah, it's a very
you can't ask
specific
for something much better.
design.
I will say this is one of the things I appreciate most in traditional knives is just how purpose-built they are.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah.
So many of
Each
them.
one has its place.
Yeah,
which-
exactly.
Yeah,
And
so many of
that's
them
why
are.
there's so many patterns. But
Just anything that you would want to do.
Yeah.
There's a pattern specifically for
specific
it.
use for it.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
most of the time it's in the name, so you don't even really have to think about it.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
Now, the last pattern is this the last pattern? For real?
Yeah, I think-
Pretty much.
yeah, I think
We've got a
yeah.
couple odds and ends over here.
Last pattern we're going to talk about today, I got to look at my notes. Nope.
Split back whittler.
What is it?
Split back or split spring whittler.
Yeah, the Whittler
Whittler.
pattern.
These are whittlers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
See my notes?
Always seen it.
Whittler pattern. Now, why would I want to carry a whittler?
Whittler is.
Can I
Let me
guess?
get
Is it
one
good for
for-
whittling? Okay.
Oh.
Yes.
Of course,
So
Evan
here's
goes
what we
for
can
his
show.
own.
Yeah, get out of
Wait,
here.
if that logic is correct, then the canoe is good for canoeing.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
that's right.
fine. I bet it hasn't been tested.
Try it.
I'm sure it's been tested at some point. So, a whittler is a multi-bladed knife, and this is a very interesting and complex knife. It's one of my favorites. You've got your main blade, and then you've got two secondary blades coming out of the other end. The thing is, there's only
I've been
two
so excited
springs.
he's just yelling.
I'm just-
No, show no emotion.
The thing is, there's two springs on this knife, but here's why we call it a split back. The liner in the middle tapers down, and the two springs join together for the main blade to ride on them.
To essentially form the third spring, right?
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Okay.
And then that main blade falls in between those two secondary blades. Very tight fitting.
Packs a lot of blade into its small package.
That is fascinating.
Now, is this one of those? I learned at Jared Oster's shop that some of these knives you actually have to bend the steel before you heat treat. Is this one of those?
No, this one
No,
you don't.
that's pretty straight. That would be more like one of these. This is a good indication of that. If you look at these two together, you can see this one goes way off to the left.
And that's so the blades fit together.
So when you close it, it can fit in between all of those. I mean, this has 4 blades in there, and they're tight as can be. So they had to kind of bend them to fit around each other.
I love it. Love it. Okay, this is what we always do at the end of Knife Banter. Which one is your favorite, or which one would you buy right now?
Well, most of these are mine, so I did buy them.
Who is your favorite child?
I would go with the TC BARLOW. It's just an iconic pattern. Simple, easy to carry, disappears in your pocket, light, not too fancy.
Austin?
I am actually also a BARLOW fan. I don't own any of them, but the aesthetics on them are probably my favorite, and I really love the tall bolster. I think it's a good touch. It looks really good.
What about you, Evan?
I'm torn. I'm a multi-blade guy. I love having multiple blades in one package. I'm torn between a cattle knife for a Stockman and a split back Whittler. You get a lot of use out of them. You know, you've got different blade types in there for different purposes. And as a knife maker, I appreciate the complexity of the build.
Yeah.
You know, there's an artistry to them that it's unique to traditional slip joints, which I love.
Okay, I think I would. Is that a Jared Oster over there? Right,
Where?
Which
right
one?
here?
No.
Nope. That's another one
I
I
had a
had.
Jared Oster, and since I went to a shop, I'm like, the magic happened there.
Yeah.
I think I need one of these.
Do you have one in your pocket?
That's where the
Don't you
light
have one in
came
your
on.
pocket?
It's either there or in my knife roll.
That's fine if you don't have it.
It's
But
okay.
the light came on there, and I think I need one.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a
It's-
bad
people go
game to
nuts for
play
this
because they're
stuff.
not cheap.
It's an expensive game to play.
No,
Not cheap.
Okay,
They're not easy to get.
One category I forgot to cover is kind of and everybody complained online, where's the buck 110?
Yeah.
Here's a buck 110. All right, let's do it auto version, eh? Is that traditional?
That's
Absolutely.
iconically traditional.
It's a twist on the traditional, sure.
With a backlog.
Yeah, I mean, automatics have been around for forever. You know, Schrade was making them back in the 20s.
Wow.
I think Buck's been making the auto version of that for a long time. I'm not super familiar with
No,
it,
this
but
is actually brand new 2017. They started. So guys were doing aftermarket.
Yeah, they were doing
conversions.
that's right. That's where I've seen it
This is
before.
brand new factory from Buck for 2017. What
That's
else?
very nice.
Other kind of call it the international traditional.
Yeah, these are European
OPINEL.
knives. The OPINEL. It's a friction knife with a collar lock. You swivel it around, and then you're in business.
A lot of people go crazy for
Thin
these.
blade, comfortable handle.
Super affordable.
Yeah,
It's this $8.99,
Inexpensive.
Yeah, they're like
But it's a
10 bucks
good
or
knife.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
it's a good knife. A lot
You
of
can
people.
get them anywhere from this big to they make the number 13.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
over a foot long.
Yep.
And also a classic. And then we've got the Swiss Army knife. It's a slip joint.
First pocket knife I owned.
Yep.
Yeah, for me.
I think
For
most
a lot
people
of
could say
people,
that.
too.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
For a
mine
lot of
too.
people.
Yep.
I had a little Boy Scout one.
Yep.
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 You know, same mechanism as most of these knives, and just in their iconic style of the red handle. A lot of times they have the plastic shell handle.
Yep.
Pack as many blades and tools in there as you can.
And it just works.
It just works and
Love it.
affordable, and you get what you need out of it.
Yeah. Love it. So one of the comments online, we said, so they threw us to the wolves, the eels, they threw us to the eels. Wolves, the eels, they threw us to the eels. And I asked the guys on Blade Forums, I said, okay, how do you market traditional knives to a new audience? Here's what they said. They said, easy. You interview someone who is passionate about the subject, someone who knows all the cool history and interesting tidbits that go along with traditionals. You show the build quality and craftsmanship that goes into the better brands, same as any other item.
Ben, this was just a setup video, wasn't it? For the punchline.
Can we check that box, guys?
Sure.
I'd say so.
Phil, Evan, thank you both.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
appreciate
It was
it, you
fun.
guys.
Where
so
can
much.
people find
It was
you
great
guys?
Great to have you guys on.
I'm online. My website, snix.com. I'm on Facebook, snix Knives, Instagram, snix.
Awesome. Phil,
Perfect. There you go.
I keep it low key.
Hey, fair enough. Just a collector. Just a collector.
I should have said this at the beginning. Evan is an excellent knife maker. In fact,
Thank you.
he makes this one he pulled out earlier is just stellar.
Phenomenal. The thin finish on these.
The Texans are going crazy over that.
Beautiful, man.
Yes, they are. Indeed.
Yep.
You can find these knives at BladeHQ.com. If you watched to the end of the video, you might as well subscribe right now. And leave a comment. Let us know, what is your traditional folder pattern favorite? Did I get that right? Maybe throw a model in there too.
Yeah, sure.
It'll be good. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll have another video coming out next week. Again, Phil, Evan, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
See you
Fun.
guys.